Nice. Is that full auto from that altitude?
Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your favorite Introvert here, and today we're going to be going over the sport mode of the DJI Spark and some of the things you need to know before flying. Let's get into it. So a couple of things you need to know. The Spark can only be flown in sport mode using its designated controller. This came with either the Fly More package or can be purchased separately on the DJI store. How it's activated is there's a sport mode button right here in the center. It is a slider. Basically you can slide it to the right and that'll put the Spark in sport mode. A couple things to note about sport mode. The vision positioning system is deactivated. The stick sensitivity will be heightened while in flight, making the Spark more maneuverable, so you just have to watch out for that. Since this is a 2-axis gimbal, the range of motion for the camera is not that great. So if you're in a hard bank maneuver, the camera will try to steady itself, but it's gonna hit that hard stop there and it's gonna freeze. So that's gonna put additional torque on the motors and excess stress on the motors, so that's definitely something to be mindful of. Also in sport mode, the aircraft will be tilted at a more exaggerated angle, meaning you're gonna want to manually position the camera a little bit higher up, so that way when it is in fast forward flight, you wanna have the camera to where you can see where you're going, because the camera will not correct itself. It is not auto leveling in the sense of tilt.
Check it on the map. We're going to fly it around for a little bit to get the motors and everything warmed up, the internal components, before we go hammering on them. So while in sport mode, the aircraft uses GPS for positioning, but the forward obstacle sensing is disabled, like we were talking about earlier. So the aircraft will not be able to sense and avoid obstacles. There are certain intelligent flight modes that are not available. Flight modes are pano mode and shallow focus. Those are not available in sport mode. Also in the manual, DJI recommends you that the Spark is optimized for agility and speed. So they stress that the stick movements are more sensitive than when the Spark is in standard mode. 3D sensing system is disabled in sport mode, which means the aircraft will not be able to automatically avoid obstacles. The aircraft's maximum speed and braking distances are significantly increased in sport mode. A minimum braking distance of 30 meters is required, or recommended at least in the manual, in windless conditions. So we are in windless conditions, so it's optimal for testing this out. Descending speed is significantly increased. Basically, DJI just wants to warn you that the Spark's going to be agile and more capable than while in standard mode. Also, while in sport mode, this really isn't covered, but when you're in sport mode, you're going to increase the temperature of the batteries significantly. If you're going to try to recharge the batteries right after flight in sport mode, it won't let you, because the intelligent battery of the Spark will not allow you to charge the battery if the temperature is over a certain point. So definitely while flying in sport mode, that threshold will be crossed. Leave the batteries off the charger until they cool down and then put them on the charger. If you put them on the charger and they're too warm, they won't charge and a red light will be visible. And they will not start charging even when the temperature goes down. You have to reset the charger to allow the batteries to recharge or start charging. So just be mindful of that. Warm batteries won't charge right after flight. Let them cool and put them back on the charger, and then they'll go to charging. So we've got everything warmed up. We're gonna switch it over into sport mode and see how fast it'll go. See what kind of speeds we can get out of it. All right, so we switched over into sport mode. It'll tell you at the top of the app on your phone, sport mode, and it will let you know that your sensors are turned off by giving the red sensor warning, an exclamation point. So let's give it a test go. All right, and remember that remember your gimbal. In that it's super sensitive to high movements. All right, I'm showing about 31.5 miles an hour. I'm gonna bring it up to 50 feet. Or 60 feet. I'm gonna descend while still going forward and see, okay, 33.5. No wind, no tailwind, no headwind. Only forces acting upon it are the forces of flight while the Spark is in motion. We're gonna go ahead and spin it around here. "35 miles an hour. Going low. So I want to say even DJI warns you that while the Spark is in sport mode and a lot of options are turned off, the speed is still limited. So you still have that limitation of the Spark only going so fast. And it looks like for me 35 miles an hour is that speed. All right, so if you saw that, that was definitely it definitely shows that your 3D sensing is off. So that definitely almost had an impact. All right. You heard that? Low battery warning. That was a test of the DJI Spark in sport mode. We're going to put her down.